Whitaker is off. He's down in Florida, and so he will be missing his, I think, his first meeting in these, all these years. So we will, what we'll do is we'll say the pledge, and then we'll call the meeting to order, and then we have a few just mechanical things to do to keep the meeting going. So let's stand and say the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome everyone. And what we will do is we will, since our supervisor is not here, we will call a motion to elect a temporary chairperson for today's meeting. And then that person can continue on. So would anyone like to nominate someone to be the chairperson?
Nominate Bruce.
Do you have a second on that?
I'll second.
Very good.
You didn't
I understand from the planning commission, that's what to do with new guys. He gets to be the secretary or the stand-in.
Oh, yes. Let's, so we have a second, and Bruce is the potential elected chairperson. If all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Bruce is our elected chairperson for tonight. And you can start with number 2, the roll call.
Roll call, so I believe as our supervisor would have been, all are here except for Mr. Whitaker. Okay. Who is absent, excused, as you would say.
Yes.
So we're looking for the approval of the agenda this evening.
Thank you.
Everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? Is there any adds or adjustments to the agenda?
It's good to have.
If there are no adds or adjustments to the agenda, we want to do the official motion for that.
Yeah, we'll take a motion to approve the agenda as is. Do we have a second on the approval of the agenda?
I'll second it.
Okay.
All those in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda has passed as is.
Okay, so we're opening the floor to public comment. Yes.
First, thank you. Back when we started the road projects between Chubb and 5 Mile, there was a comment made by Mark McCullough during that meeting that the issue was brought up about maintenance. And they said that road will be a local road until such time as the traffic count, or we decided we could try to make that into a county road. And I would suggest in the meeting coming up with the county next month, I think it's next month, is the normal county meeting, that the issue be brought up to them about putting out vehicle count strips on Chubb and 5 Mile to start the process by which that can be turned over to be a county road, so that they would be responsible for the maintenance on that road. I think it's imperative, because if anybody has driven down there, you can see how Kalo has torn up the top surface, the trucks going in and out around the corner. It's showing wear, and I think it behooves us to get on top of that to make sure that we don't have to end up doing it.
That's good input. Now, would we be able to get, we did the 5 Mile to, up from Chubb to,
Yeah, both sections. Both sections of those are right now are classified as local roads,
okay,
and they need to be classified as county roads.
okay, great.
And I think that makes sense. Same subject, just for projects, the same thing going in there. I know last year, Seven and Chubb Road received, the approaches were redone. The Curry Road and the south of 6 Mile here is in very, very bad shape. We've got potholes 6 to 8 inches deep and 3 or 4 foot wide, and it's never been addressed in the last 2 years.
Okay.
So that needs to be on the bucket list to get looked at.
The county said the meeting is sometime at the end of March or mid-March.
Yeah, that's usually one of the, by the, in case I miss next month, because I might not be here next month.
Okay. Hopefully someplace warm. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Oh, sorry. Fine, I'm sorry.
Just for clarification, Dale, didn't you tell us when you got all the specs and everything for the road, you got it to be so it was kind of pre-approved to be a county road, you did it according to all their stuff. So don't let them fool you
No, they
when you
know.
talk to them at the board, at the road commission, because it's already set to go.
Yeah, and I have all Dale's documents
Right.
from that project sitting on the
There's a lot
shelf
of
waiting.
things you probably have that I would like to refresh your memory on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, that road was built as a Class A road for that
That's
intense
what it
purpose.
was, Class A road.
Great. Okay, thank you. So supervisor's comment, he is not here to have his comments, and he is not called in, so consent agenda.
All right, I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. We have the minutes of January 11th, 2022, regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. We have disbursements for January out of the general fund of $162,352.70. We have payroll of $52,619.76. Paycor of $602.60. Sewer fund of $7,729.83. The escrow fund of $9,162. And the MEDC fund, the disbursements were $201,458.16. And then invoices for the month of February, listed out of the general fund, will be $62,811.92. The sewer fund of $15,562.83. Escrow fund of $9,166. And lastly, the MEDC fund, $29,508.62. Do we have a second on all these?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah, Bruce, if you want, I can do those others.
If you've got that, if you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you-
So we're going to start the business items. The first motion will be for the Board of Review, the allowing residents to protest in writing. In order to ease the burden on taxpayers, the assessor and the Board of Review, and to ensure that all taxpayers have an equal opportunity to be heard by the Board of Review, Salem Township resolves, according to provision MCL 211.30 of the General Property Tax Act, that the Board of Review shall receive letters of protest regarding assessments from resident taxpayers from the second Wednesday in March until it adjourns from the public hearings for which it meets to hear such protests. All notices of assessment change and all advertisements of Board of Review meetings are to include a statement that the resident taxpayers may protest by a letter to the Board of Review. And do we have a second on these, on this one?
I'll second it.
All right, Reggie, and these call for a roll call vote. So we'll start here with Daniel.
Mr. Clerk, I've got one quick question.
Oh, sure.
If you wouldn't mind, please.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify, is the Board of Review planning on meeting, starting that second Wednesday of March on March 9, through through that Friday? Is that their normal schedule?
It is the normal schedule. Our assessor, Bill Gunther, has not given me the dates and times when they will be meeting as of yet. So, but this is what he gave me, but he hasn't, 'cause a lot of times he goes sometimes till 5 o'clock PM, sometimes he goes till 8 PM on certain days, and he hasn't given that me yet.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, we will call the motion. Daniel?
Yes?
DeLuca?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Wensley, yes, and Whitaker is absent. Motion has passed. The second item is the Board of Review Poverty Hardship Guidelines. Whereas the adoption of guidelines for poverty exemptions is within the purview of the Salem Township Board, and whereas the homestead of persons who, in the judgment of the supervisor and the Board of Review, by reason of poverty or hardship, are unable to contribute to the public charges, is eligible for exemption in whole or in part from taxation under Public Act 390, 1994. And whereas pursuant to PA 390, 1994, Salem Township adopts the following guidelines for the supervisor and the Board of Review to implement. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Review shall follow the above stated policy and federal guidelines in granting or denying an exemption.
Second of happiness, before remembering what will become of my
And do we have a second on this motion?
I'll second that one.
Any discussion?
Did the federal guidelines get attached in our board packet?
No, he did not get them to me.
I don't have any problem with us utilizing the federal guidelines. It was just.
It'd be nice to see them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'll have to get those from Bill because he did not, this is all he sent me. All right, any other discussions? And this will be also a roll call vote. We have a second by Reggie. Daniels?
Yes.
DeLuca?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Reeve?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Wensley, yes, and Whitaker is absent. Motion is approved.
Okay. So, apparently there's nothing under financial. So reports. So, fire.
All right, well, that's pretty quick. On the fire department, we've probably had a record number of calls for January, double what we normally get. I suspect some of it's related to the weather, but a high number of medical calls. And then the other thing is our new Deputy Jessica Winan, I think it's W-I-O-N, is now on board, and she's kind of the other full-time deputy, so you'll see her in our travels now.
Okay.
Hopefully without the lights flashing behind us.
That's definitely, yes. And she likes us here, so she's quite the adjustment. I think she came from Superior, I want to say, Superior Ypsilanti, so she's happy to be here.
Okay, and on Washington County law enforcement, did you want to mention? Okay, overtime.
I don't know about that one.
Okay, apparently, okay, I just got the email.
I didn't see that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. We had gotten, as it relates to law enforcement, there was a little less overtime utilized, and we had gotten a reduction in our bill from the Washington County Sheriff's Department for that reduction in some of the overtime that we use, so. it was a $42,000 reduction in our cost for last year. So, some of
Because they don't have to force a deputy to cover the previous deputy that was injured. So now that you have a deputy that's assigned, she's on regular time, as opposed to forcing a deputy, which they had to pay on overtime.
I see.
So there was an adjustment there in our favor, so that was a good thing.
Oh, good. Jim, aren't we supposed to have two?
We do, we have two deputies. The
Okay.
new one is Jessica and the existing one was Patrick, Deputy Patrick. So now we have two full-time deputies, if you will, which is kind of what our original strength was before Deputy Sharon got injured.
And we pretty much pay for the day shift for regular patrol.
Right.
And then we're covered for emergencies after that.
By MSP. So they do work evening shifts, so they do work till like 8 o'clock at night on alternating days.
Staggering.
Yep,
Nice.
and weekends.
All right.
Okay, and under general township updates for board discussion?
Gary asked me if Ed, you had anything,
Just,
Michael?
late yesterday, the brief was filed in the Court of Appeals on the Superior Township litigation. Hopefully I'll receive a copy of that today. I'm sure you've all read through it carefully. If not, then any nights you have insomnia, can't sleep, just pick that up and start reading it. It'll do the trick. That works better than Somnex.
Give us a summary.
I was gonna say, I did glance through that, but
Summary is, we were just, we felt the trial court dismissed a number of the counts that had not been addressed by the trial court, so we are asking the Court of Appeals to give relief in either remanding the case back to the trial court to have the court rule on those issues they didn't rule on, which namely is, we had asked the trial court not only to process our application for the sewer system, but also to consider and grant the application. So the trial court only did half of that in order that the application be processed. So that's the main issue on appeal. We asked that the Court of Appeals either remand it to the trial court, which would be the Washtenaw Circuit Court, either to make that determination, or we've asked alternatively for the Court of Appeals to make that determination themselves that our application for the sewer system should have been granted, and go ahead and grant it directly from the Court of Appeals.
so that would be the writ of mandamus, that term means to just grant it without.
I'm sorry. what was that?
You mentioned many times, mandamus motion, or writ of mandamus?
Yeah, mandamus, yeah, it's,
Mandamus, okay.
yeah, that's the request of the court to order a legislative body, such as the Township Board, to take action. So that was the primary basis for the lawsuit, was a writ of mandamus. Yeah.
Now that we've done that, is that a speedy type of thing, or is it?
No, unfortunately, Superior Township now has, it's been a while, I think they have they have over a month to respond, file their response, and then after they file their response, we get another chance to file a reply brief to their response. So even the briefing schedule will be 2 or 3 months down the road, and the way the Court of Appeals has been going, it will be at least 6 months after the last brief is filed before we even get a hearing date. So it will be, the justice system moves very slowly.
Now, does the other party, Salem Springs, will they also file a brief with the court as well, or is it just us filing this brief?
Because in the original action, Salem Springs was the plaintiff, Salem Township was the defendant, but we in turn filed a cross complaint on behalf of Salem Township against Superior Township. So in pursuing this appeal, since Salem Springs and Salem Township are all seeking the same remedy and the same relief, we have filed a joint brief, which is the same thing we did in the trial court, actually, to try and simplify it for the court. So we filed one joint brief on behalf of both Salem Springs and Salem Township. And so Superior Township will only get to file one response to that brief.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
I don't know if you caught that the road commission released publicly, they were gonna start on the roundabout at North Territorial and Pontiac Trail.
Yes.
So
They're
that-
starting, tree cutting.
Right, they released a press release or some kind of Facebook that they're starting on that project. So I had a discussion with them, there will be some impacts, and I guess in the future, we'll actually be shut down Pontiac Trail and North Territorial. So that's gonna be a huge impact to us in the township.
Those trees, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Their suggested alternate routes is quite a ways around there.
Right, right.
Oh, they listed the detour route?
Yes. They did show some detour routes there, which included 6 Mile and Curtis, I guess. So in this particular case, they were showing all paved roads as opposed to, other than going up Dixboro, which is not paved, but basically. Dixboro up to 6 Mile, 6 Mile over Curtis and back down again. So, yes.
And probably at the same time, Curry and 8 Mile.
I told the road commission that, because they weren't aware that Oakland County is also doing a project on 8 Mile and Curry as well, and they weren't aware of it. So the project engineer that's doing the Pontiac Trail and North Territorial, I spoke to him for a half an hour this week and said, hey, we also got one at 8 and Curry. He's like, really? Because we don't have this on our schedule. I said, that's because Oakland County's doing it.
Wow, so we're gonna have, have a lot of people flying through different,
And North Territorial, especially during the morning hours, you know, in the evening hours, that's kind of the back route for M14 and cut through. A lot of people come off of 23 for that.
And Pontiac Trail is also a big thoroughfare from South Lyon to Ann Arbor.
And as well as our emergency medical routes, so, you know, the ambulances hit Pontiac Trail, North Territorial, we shoot down Pontiac Trail for U of M, and kind of a little bit south of that, we hit Dixboro for St. Joe's, so, and that's not just us, but I mean, everything in Oakland County, kind of Lyon Township, South Lyon, all the ambulances come down Pontiac Trail, so that's gonna be a, you know, huge impact.
Okay, I guess we open it for public comment. Okay, not seeing any hands up for public comment. Again, supervisors' comments are being postponed until next month.
and I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Does someone have a second? I don't know.
We're doing the officials.
You're right.
We'll just adjourn then.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
7:26.
26.
At 7:26.
Okay, tell Gary you made the record.
Yeah.